Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 153 of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. Thanks for joining me. I haven't done one of these kinds of episodes in a while. So busy doing interviews with people, but just really breaking down recent events in the law and just giving my opinion on those and legal strategy and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to be freewheeling a little bit. I'm going to go through, I have the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, which is the parent organization of this podcast now, where we do a lot of training and stuff for immigration lawyers and updating them. There's some, free resources I put out. One is the Facebook group for immigration lawyers. And if you're an immigration lawyer, reach out to me, info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. Email me, we'll connect on Facebook so I can add you to the group. I put a lot of free material out there, but also the LinkedIn page for Immigration Lawyers Toolbox has a lot of this stuff. So I'm going to go through some of the news recently and talk about my opinion and just some analysis from what I've seen and things I know behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff. For y'all to think about. There's even actually a YouTube page for the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox that's growing, where there's a lot of both the video version of this podcast in the interviews, and also clips I put out of like premium versions of Toolbox, the educational material, CLE material. That's really helpful, I think, especially if you're starting, if you're not, because we have courses for beginners that are just the basics that will help out a lot. Just go to the Toolbox YouTube page, you get a lot of information that you learn. And then we have a lot of expert stuff. So like yesterday, we recorded a special CLE, went an hour and a half. So it was 1.5 CLE California and reciprocating states, where a colleague, three great colleagues of ours, top O1 attorneys for entertainers, Jeannie Doi interviewed and did a panel with David Telfer and Jerry Marshall about musicians, because Jerry and David both do musician kind of, singer-songwriter kind of, not maybe songwriters, concert kind of O1s a lot. So it was an intermediate and advanced course. So that's available in the premium program. You can buy it a la carte. Just ask me for information on that. But once I get done processing the video for that and put some clips out there for people to just hear it out, see what kind of stuff's going on. But it's a lot of fun. Every week, try to put out stuff, country condition stuff, a lot of different things. I'll talk about more and more now that I'm going to do. I'm going back to this kind of recording. You'll be hearing about it, so you're aware of it. And also, I just recorded a wonderful top interview with immigration lawyer Angelo Paparelli, which I'm sure you all know. The reputation precedes him. And the cool thing is, I was going to do the regular 10 questions with him to go over his background. But the week before, one of our great colleagues, well, he doesn't practice as much anymore. He's a tech entrepreneur in the immigration space, Roman Zelichenko, did an interview with Angelo Paparelli, and he went over his bio and his background a lot. So I thought, it'd be redundant for me to do that. Let's try to find something new. And as we were starting the episode, we were just talking and then going into case stuff. What do we think about this and RFEs and this and that? And we just pause it right there and say, hey, let's pick this up on the recording and take it from there. So the interview kind of just jumps into our conversation. And if you're a practitioner, this is the stuff we love to talk about, love to hear. Great advice from the top of the game. Reputation precedes, as I said. So it's a wonderful thing. I'll probably come out a few days after this recording if you hear it. So definitely listen to that. Now, I just did an interview with Jared Jascott. He's an immigration lawyer as well, does a lot of humanitarian kind of stuff. And he's out, I think, in Maryland, if I'm not mistaken. But he also designs bots. So these are like computer assisted algorithm. It's just a communication tool, pretty much. So if someone wants to contact you on Facebook, for example, the computer kind of talks to them and sets them, maybe gets their information, maybe gives them, share some knowledge that they need to know, all that kind of stuff. And it saves you the time of having to hire people. And after the interview, he was really kind, and we talked about it. I said, hey, can we give some sort of deal for my listeners? And so he said, okay, 60 days free, trial of his bot. I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. I'm going to start doing it myself and give it a shot, see how it is. And so why not give it a try? Just tell him you heard about it through the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. And I'm sure he'll be happy to take it, let you use that. He love it. I love it. So just let him know and try that out, because people do contact you on Facebook and on WhatsApp and stuff. And having these apps really streamlines it and just, gets the cases that are good, or gets their contact information so you can schedule consultation, maybe even sets up a consultation if you have like a Calendly link and stuff like that. So that's something to definitely look into. Now, one thing I have been doing, this Immigration Lawyers Toolbox program, you might have heard about in previous sessions as well, is that's the general program for continuing education. There's another program called the Champions for Freedom, which the idea is, you first of all, you get your own freedom by being able to run your own practice and know how to practice immigration law. So you have an independent skill as a lawyer that could feed you indefinitely, unless Trump completely shuts down immigration. We'll see what happens with that. And so I've been doing training on this for seems like at least 2 years now on an individual coaching basis, going over stuff. And I thought, I take a lot of continuing education courses, business training, legal training, all this kind of stuff myself. And I've been to courses that are so organized. And I said, instead of just doing one-on-one coaching on a continuous basis throughout the year, I'm just going to set up a course, make it like a 4-week course every Tuesday, like at 10 a.m. to noon, and just Pacific time, and just repeat it and just break down and do these kind of courses like that. And if people want to join, they're welcome to join. There's a fee for it, but just email me at info@Immigration Lawyers Toolbox to ask about the Champions for Freedom course. Probably going to start it November 3rd, that Tuesday, and it'll go throughout November. I think there's a Thanksgiving in there somewhere, so I might have to plan for that. But it's going to be recorded too, so if you can't catch that exact day, you have to leave early to watch it. It'll have material, all that kind of stuff. We're going to go over a marriage-based case, going into admissibility issues, then consular processing, adjustment of status, removal of conditions, fiance visa, I-90s, the basics of naturalization. So if you're new to the field, or if you've done other stuff, you've done a lot of removal stuff, or maybe you've done a lot of humanitarian stuff, but haven't really got into practicing family-based, and I make my living. At this point, I was focusing on E2s, L1s, marriage cases. Stopped doing EB5, stopped doing asylum years ago, stopped doing removal defense years ago, and I don't do dual representation, kind of EB2, EB3, H1B. I don't do those. So I make a good living, have all the time to do this, just based on marriage cases. So it's something that's very doable. People get married all across America, so it's just something that's continuous, and it's family based. And that once you learn how to do a marriage case, you could also do an I-130 for parents of U.S. citizens, brother and sisters. Once you know consular processing, you can do consular processing for employment based cases, which I do. So you learn the basics, the core of immigration affirmative practice, which is the marriage case, and then everything else kind of comes from that. So we're going to go through that course. Contact me. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I enjoy talking about stuff all day, every day. It's all I do, and it doesn't get boring. So I'm like, I found something I love. Let's just talk about it more and more, make a course out of it that's more controlled instead of the way I was doing individual kind of coaching. And so that you can look forward to that. Just contact me soon so we get you in the course. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it too big because it's going to get unwieldy or something like that. So I'm going to keep it small and then maybe just do it again, maybe in January, February. But for now, for sure, we're going to do it in November. So reach out to me about that. And what else? So that's just some housekeeping kind of stuff. Usually right here, I'd have my editors put a disclaimer and the music for me to start, but I'm just going to jump into it. I guess I'll just say myself, this is general education only. Consult with an attorney in private for guidance in your case. Rules change frequently, especially under this administration. So anything I say cannot be used against me in a court of law. Let's just put it that way. So let's get it started. So what has been going on? Our colleague Ron Madden, he's a Los Angeles immigration lawyer, used to be in Canada working for, I think it was Ernst & Young EY. He posted, and a lot of people know about this, but the fiscal year is ending for the government agencies. So what does that mean? So there's so many unused visas in the family-based categories that apparently all these will go to the employment base. So we're going to see a huge jump in the visa bulletin happening for employment-based cases because all these have opened up and they're going to go to that category. So this is, he says that the possible, it could be from 156,000 to 250,000. That's the possible increase in employment-based green cards starting in October. Why? Because the law requires unused family-based visas to roll over at the start of the fiscal year. July 2007, another momentous year in the U.S. immigration when the employment-based green card tap was open wide. Will October 2020 be such another such moment? So it seems like it probably is. We've had luck in the F2A spouse of a green card holder and minor child of a green card holder category where it's been current for so many, it seems like it's been a year since it's been current. We'll see if that continues or not. In one sense, it's cool that it's current because it moves things faster. But in another sense, it means demand is so low in that category, which is kind of weird. Why would demand for F2A be so low? I don't understand it. I don't know the details of why that is. But that's an interesting thing that's popped up. Now, one fun little thing that happened is O1 petitions, or just O's in general, got an updated policy guidance. As you know, USCIS took off the adjudicator's field manual from its website. if you go use the Wayback Machine, it's a some sort of website, looks at old stuff. You could probably find old things on USCIS that have the adjudicator's field manual, which is so important, helped out so much. But the USCIS policy guide manual is a new thing that they have, and the updated O guidance. And I didn't go through it, but our colleague Jeannie Doyle, who actually is in that CLE about O's, reviewed it, and it kind of just opens up things to a lot of discretion by USCIS, the way they're wording things. And as you already know, it just things have changed drastically. I don't practice in O field, so I don't want to get too much into it. But every time and there's an agency update, I have on my account for my emails. Whenever I get USCIS policy manual updates, it goes to a different folder and highlights that there's an agency update. And every time I see that light glow, I'm just like, oh no, what are they doing now? What are we going to have to deal with now? And so that's just that's just something to be prepared for. If you do have an O practice, it's still possible. But I mean, COVID-19 right now has shut down a lot of different things. I keep going back to the O1 sale we had. So for musicians, it shut down a lot of things. A lot of itineraries got messed up. But, a lot of southern states, Texas and stuff are open. So we could have concerts in those areas. So if you're doing that kind of, it's still possible to do. But the other problem then just becomes if, the COVID-19 travel ban. Now, some ports of entry for CBP are more flexible in issuing waivers for business space, if there's a financial loss or something like that, and issuing through the port of entry. And that's something I've done. I haven't requested waivers of COVID ban from the embassies directly. Apparently it's hit and miss, but I requested from port of entry, had good facts. And it always comes down to having good facts, but that's something to look into. Now, speaking of the COVID ban, CBP issued this sheet about the carrier liaison program. I'm not going to get into what that is right now, but it was on September 11th. And it just breaks down what the COVID situation is. They've opened it up. So if someone's coming from one of these countries and has a waiver or whatever, just come from one of these fine countries, they can go to any airport. It's not just those fixed 15 airports or so that they said they have to go to. But one important thing is they say about these restrictions, it applies to the People's Republic of China, but it says excluding the special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau. Now, as you know, after, there's been political stuff going on between the U.S. and China, and Hong Kong was removed kind of from what I understand is they changed it. So Hong Kong's not special anymore when it comes to the visa bulletin. Their numbers are going to count as regular Chinese people, which means they're going to go huge backlog. Not regular Chinese, but mainland Chinese people. But here, the COVID-19 ban doesn't apply to Hong Kong. So just be careful if you have a client from there and they want to not let him board a plane. As long as they haven't visited China or Brazil, Iran, EU, UK, Ireland, it may be okay. So something to look at is very important, and that was interesting. Some lawsuit news that was popped up. So one is the Ninth Circuit allowed temporary protected status to end for El Salvador, Haiti, Sudan, Nicaragua. Hundreds of thousands of people subject to removal now, and so that's a messed up situation. We'll see how in the world they're going to handle that. TPS is such a weird thing because some of these countries, I think it was El Salvador, had started TPS 20 years ago. And when you have something go on for that long, it's really hard to just send it back. It's a weird situation. Now, other lawsuit news, our great colleague, Jeff Joseph, hopefully I'll be able to get a recording of him talking about what this case is about. But major lawsuits filed about K1 visas. Him, I think, Greg Siskin and that gentleman Koch, I think it is from Atlanta, Charles Koch, I think it's them. They filed K1 lawsuits because of the issues that go on with the K1, they're not being issued. And they also had a major victory about the diversity visa lottery program, which was being banned under the administration. They're forcing the embassies to do them, and they're giving an exception to the travel bans for the COVID-19 travel ban. So that's excellent. But in one of the Facebook groups, someone posted their client went to their interview after this, and they were denied because their passport photo was too shiny. Now that's all I know. That's all they said. That's like crazy. How do you deal with that? You call LegalNet or you file a lawsuit immediately? Yeah, you try to contact supervisor. I don't know. They have a lot of leeway with the diversity visa lottery, just consular processing in general. But if that's true for passport being too shiny, that's a messed up situation. So be prepared for this kind of stuff to pop up. All right. So what else is going on in the news? I'm going through the Facebook feed for the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox and also the LinkedIn and going through the news. But a cool thing is the flexibility for COVID-19 for responding to RFPs and noise and stuff was extended again. I think they're going to extend it to January 1st. So USCIS has now extended the flexibility period until January 1st, 2021. So that's great. Gives you some extra time. What I've seen is, like, I had a case when needed this because we needed, the client is a young guy, but his fingerprints were not going through. And so we needed to get police records and sheriff's records from all the cities and states he's lived in. And, this was like in April, when in the mess of COVID-19 where it was really shut down hardcore. And so that really bought us time to get the documents, because sometimes they wanted to email it to us, not send like original stamp copies or signatures. I'm like, no, we need original signatures, and getting that to us took a while. And that time really helped the extension. So that was really important. Just keep in mind, if you have cases that are coming down, you could push that forward and get it in there. So that's really important to think about. Okay, so there's a lot of news, but I kind of included in the other things I'm talking about. The big news is practitioners. Right now, let me date to this recording, September 19th, Saturday night, I'm doing this. What is going on with I-944? It's madness that we have no idea what exactly is going on. So for I-944, for the public charge rule, the I-485 website says the injunction, you don't have to submit public charge until the injunction is over. Injunction is over now, but USCIS.gov has not updated that. Moreover, if you go within the system, within the USCIS website and review forms, it does not bring up form I-944. However, if you type in I-944 in Google, the form will pop up. So do we file it? Do we not file it? Will they give an RFP for it later? Will the service center accept without it? I'm hearing stories all over the place where people are, getting it rejected for it, accepted for it, despite not having it. Fee changes are coming too. Just throw that in there, October 2nd. People are getting cases returned saying you didn't submit the proper fee, and then they give a fee schedule for the proper guidance, which is too early. It's October 2nd. Right now, it's like 2 weeks before that, or a week before that. I have 3 cases I got to file. I sent 5 cases that the 90-day window to filing is like September 29th. So we got to get it in between September 29th and October 2nd to beat the fee increase. Not that much, $110, but you want to help the clients. And so that's this 9944. I hope they get rid of that form. I think there's another injunction for concert processing that says that hasn't been talked about. I think that one is still on hold. Now the concert processing DS5540 is much more simpler than the I-944 is, thankfully. But it just leaves a lot of room for discretion. The annoying thing about I-944 is you have to submit proof of health insurance, and they're like, the card isn't sufficient enough. It has to be some sort of writing that breaks down what your thing is to what benefits you get. And the benefits booklets for these things are sometimes 500 pages. And they also want the expiration date. Now I'm natural born U.S. citizen, been here, had health insurance most of my life. We just pay health insurance month to month. I don't have any expiration date on my health care. They're like, no, you have to have an expiration date listed on there. It's so weird and bizarre what they did. There's got to be lawsuits over this stuff, but because they haven't been enforcing them, I guess they don't have a damages claim or whatever the thing is. It's not active case, but it is when you are trying to submit the I-944, have a deadline, you can't get documents together because what they're asking us is not legitimate. So who knows? And speaking of not legitimate, this segueing on its own, I'm not even planning this. A Maryland judge finds that Wolf, who was acting Department of Homeland Security secretary, and his guy Cuccinelli were illegally appointed. So, and I think they forced them to undo one of the asylum decisions they made. They didn't have them undo everything, but that's such a massive thing. It's just not for immigration, but all these decisions for DHS that's going on. So we'll see. I mean, the madness just continues. I don't know what to say. It's such a weird thing. We had a colleague who Jeffrey DeVore, he posted this, one of the listeners, which I want to give kudos. He says he filed a district court claim because his client's I-130 was denied for fraud. And I'll just read the quote he put in there. It's U.S. District Court in Utah vacating the BIA's denial of an I-130 under Section 204C. That's when you have fraudulent marriages, essentially. And ordering USCIS to approve the I-130, the court found that USCIS failed to identify substantial and probative evidence of marriage fraud to shift the burden to the client under 204C. So the burden shifting is very important. USCIS has to give evidence and have that, and then turn it to you to defend yourself. They can't just say it willy-nilly, which a lot of times nowadays, and a lot of RFEs we see too in all sorts of cases, USCIS doesn't do the burden that they need to identify something. I get RFEs. I'm working on an I-140 RFE right now, where they just don't give us, they just say it's not good enough without giving explanations and details. And that's not legal. There's court cases, there's official court cases that says you can't do that. And so it then considered the BIA's affirmance to be arbitrary and capricious because it did not correct the USCIS error. The court also refused to remand to USCIS to give them a second bite at the apple. So God bless you, Jeffrey DeVore, doing great work there, pushing back for this insanity that's going on. All right. So our colleague Liam Shores in Israel, he's so good on concept processing. Definitely follow him on LinkedIn and Twitter in particular. But he posts a lot of good stuff. Now, it's just so interesting because I do a lot of YouTubes. I've been going hard on YouTube, and I'm growing that subscription base. And constantly, like every day, the questions I get: when is the embassy opening? When is it opening? When's Mumbai opening? When's the embassy of Pakistan opening? This and that. And I just try to give him this example of Israel, where Israel says, okay, we're open. And then embassy says we're doing interviews. And then either the country or the embassy gets afraid and they close them and they cancel the interviews and they reschedule and they cancel again. And this has been going on for months off and on. So when people ask, when is it going to open? It'd be like, who knows? This is COVID-19 era. They shut down, open up, depends on the country conditions itself. It varies. And what I say is, first of all, go to their website and then email them and then check out their Twitter feed. They may talk about it there. But I don't know. Some stuff they interview, sometimes they don't, because they may be interviewing, spouse of U.S. citizen cases, but they're not going to do spouse of a green card holder case. So all these kind of issues exist, and so it is what it is. Quick note: if you are an immigration lawyer, as a reminder, come and join the Facebook page. One thing I do for the premium immigration lawyers toolbox is I read all the AEO decisions for L1 and EB1C cases, and I review them every month. And I put it out there, and I put clips of that just on the Facebook page because it's just too much insider talk. I like to keep it on the private page that's not open. So let me know. Just email me info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com and let me know if you want to join the Facebook page so you can see who these clips are, get to know the toolbox better, and decide if you want to join and all that kind of stuff. And one of the reviews I did right here is this person submitted a case and this lawyer didn't review all the evidence they're submitting in detail. And so you got to look over the tax returns. You got to look over, bank statements, all this kind of stuff to know what you're sending, because once it's on the record, you're stuck, So that's something to be very careful of. Whew. Now, this next one is just something that's just offensive. So the proposed rules the DHS is proposing for biometrics is going to include like more DNA testing for family relationships, a vocal what do they call it? Some sort of vocal analysis they're going to keep, and iris scans, not only of the beneficiary or applicant, but of the petitioner and of joint sponsors. So you could be a U.S. citizen joint sponsor. They're going to have you go to an ASC center to do biometrics and take your iris scan, not only your fingerprints, not your photos, but also a vocal thing, voice print, palm print, iris image. This can be sued on because it's just over the top. I mean, what security situation does a joint sponsor have that they need to give a palm print and iris image? That doesn't make any sense. Now, sometimes they put these things so over the top. So when the negotiations over happened, we'll get rid of, vocal, what is it called? I can make it wrong, but the voice scanning, all that kind of stuff to get the rest. But all of this got to push on. What's wrong with the current agency that we have? What security issues exist right now? That's such a big deal that you need to do something like that. So be careful. Oof. Now, a couple more crazy. It's just concept. Our Kurzban, God bless them. The new edition of Kurzban's out, and I actually just interviewed. I think it's an episode before this as we publish. One of the partners of Kurzban, Kevin Gregg. I want to say his name. Kevin, I'm pretty sure it's Kevin Gregg. He had started a podcast a little bit back, which I definitely recommend viewing. It's called Immigration Review, and he analyzes federal court decisions. It is Kevin Gregg. Okay. And Gregg with 2 G's. And so definitely check that out. He does a lot of analysis of federal court cases and breaking it down. It's iTunes, everywhere you can find it. Hoping to have him on the program a lot more to do the analysis of the federal court cases. Great guy. He's moved to San Diego, so he's starting up a branch of the office there. But Kurzban wrote this great thing, and I'm going to paraphrase it, essentially talking about how the administration, without any congressional, decisions, any bills, any laws. It's completely changed the immigration systems through internal workings, policy changes, sometimes illegal kind of stuff, executive orders and proclamations. It just really tore apart the system. And they did it really well. I did not expect them to be that sophisticated. Of all the things this administration has done and successful at, very few things you say are success, except one, getting a ton of judges in. And yesterday, Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg died, so they're probably going to end up getting another justice in the Supreme Court. And secondly, completely screwing immigration. And so a lot of immigration lawyers say this administration is trying to stop all immigration. I would take it a next step further from the things I'm seeing with denaturalization. Not only do they want to completely stop immigration, they want to take away immigration rights and benefits for people who are here, either as naturalized U.S. citizens or as lawful permanent residents, and potentially even going back and saying people who were born here aren't even citizens, depending on who their parents were and stuff. So it's different levels. It's not just stopping immigration; it's going back and removing immigrant rights that go back in time. It's a nasty situation. It's unbelievable to be that crazy. And one things they're doing is USCIS launches sponsored deeming and agency reimbursement information collective initiative. So the short of that is they're going to go after people who use the benefits, especially if they had an I-864, a sponsor that's going to financially be responsible. So they're going to go after them to get paid from the sponsor, joint sponsor. They create a system, SAV, SAVE, Systematic Alien Verification Entitlements. Because for so many years now, they have been looking into this. So, a lot of people make mistakes and get benefits. And it's not really easy to know what the benefits are you can and can't get. They haven't made it easiest for to understand. I've been trying to understand this stuff for a long time. And then when public charge came, I-944, trying to further understand what's considered, what isn't. It's not even really legible. So there's going to be lawsuits about this. But they're coming after people. And just one thing I remind people, if you had a family-based case and the beneficiary is a LPR, they're going to file for naturalization. There's a question in there that asks, have you ever tried to get a benefit from the government using fraud or misrepresentation? Keep in mind, if the person got some sort of means-tested benefit, even if it was okay for a lawful permanent resident to do, when you do the analysis of how much income that person has for a means-tested benefit, you have to add in the sponsor and or joint sponsor's income with theirs, and then do the means testing to see if they're above or below the poverty guidelines or whatever the requirements are. And if they did not include the sponsor's documents or income in there, then that's going to be a major problem, because that is misrepresentation on that document. Now, it's never been enforced historically, but I remember one of our colleagues 6 months ago had a naturalization case where the applicant had got housing, and because during the interview, the guy asked, well, where do you live? How much does it cost? And he's like, well, that's really cheap. How do you do that? He said, I got housing. Well, he's like, did you include the joint sponsor in there? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. And obviously didn't, because the joint sponsor was making enough money that would make them not able to use that benefit. And so that's an issue. So they got denied. Potentially, all of a sudden, they get a removal hearing, and just that road goes down, and you got to kind of fix that situation. There wasn't really a mechanism, but despite the fact that USCIS is broke and was supposed to close down and furlough, they had the money to launch this SAVE program to go after people. So be prepared. Guide your clients and let them know beforehand, when they become lawful permanent residents. There's so many things now. It's just you have to follow up. So about just everything that's possible. I would always tell in my final email when I'm closing the case, don't register to vote. Don't vote. Don't do criminal stuff. Those are issues. But add in there, means tested benefits, don't get them, and all that kind of stuff. There's just so many different levels depending on what country they're from to prep them to not make some mistakes. That's going to be problematic, because it's very easy for that to happen. It's just the way it is. Okay, let's see what else is going on. This one was really massive. So on September 11th, this new proposed rule agency update happened, and it's been under the radar. No matter how much I talk about it publicly on these websites and interviews I've been doing, it's not making a lot of headway. But administration finalizes virus immigration restriction rule. The director, this is what the new rule is under the CFR. The director may, for example, suspend all rights to introduce all persons from the foreign country. So if they say this person is going to come in, it's a pandemic, they're going to be COVID-19, they can not only ban persons from a country from coming in and saying, okay, every person from this country is banned. They can request that DHS physically expel the cohort of persons from the foreign country who are already on U.S. soil. and further request that DHS stop the movement into the United States of any other persons from the country who are not on U.S. soil. So that's wild. That's wild. And it's going on the radar. And there's so much, it's just nonstop. This is so over the top, when you hear this stuff. So how are you going to advise? How do you advise people? Like, people, I've been doing a lot of interviews in different shows, in podcasts and videos and stuff like that on the internet. And they ask, like, can you come to the United States? I'm like, yeah, you can still. The USI is still accepting petitions, even though people think you can't. Consular processing still is happening. I got a K1. I have a Chinese IV coming up for a marriage case. So these things are still happening. But, you got to keep in mind, is this the best choice of your time and money? So I have a U.S. citizen, just naturalized, wants to bring his brothers here. Well, it's going to take 50, 20 years. They're okay with that. They have nephews and nieces that come under potential of that. But at the same time, go look at Canada. I mean, if they're trying to get out from the country there and it's a bad situation, look at other options, because it's not the best. I met a gentleman on LinkedIn who was talking about how Luxembourg has like such a great program for bringing people, and you get to, come to Europe and stuff like that. There's great programs out there. It doesn't help me financially. I'm a U.S. immigration attorney, but I got to be real with my clients. When you're dealing with this level of headache and this level of unknowns, with regards to timelines, with regards to they could change the rule on us, they could just all of a sudden ban you. It's like, dude, I got to make up. I was telling this in an interview I had last week with Mehnu Shazam, she's an OFAC attorney. And I was saying, as I get older and have kids and stuff, I'm like, time is precious, It's not like in the 20s or, your teens, you just waste a lot of time. I can't wait for a consular embassy to open for a year. And then once it opens up, then get a ban for another year, and then go to an interview and then get administrative processing for another year. And it's like, I got things to do. I got money to make. I got family to raise. Is this the wisest choice? So sometimes you got to keep all the alternatives open and try them all if you can. And you just have US as one of the options. It's unfortunate to say that US should be the best and primary option for everybody. It just still is for a lot of cases. But, Canada is great and all, but I still prefer to be an American in Canada. Just having free healthcare is not that big a deal for me. Just work a little more, make some more money, and get some healthcare here. But that's something you got to tell people if they want to come here. It's something you got to think about. Now, just going back, I had another clip I did for my L1A EB1C corner that I do for the Toolbox Premium. This one is about successors and interest. So just really important note that the successor interest we do on an employment basis. If you have a company that's sponsoring you and that company goes away and another company then takes over, if there's successor interest, the previous company gets bought out by the new one and just completely becomes that one. It's kind of mergers and acquisition stuff. They could be considered a successor in interest, and it'd be okay. And that's pre-developed in the EB2, EB3 category. But one thing USCIS makes mistakes a lot of time is in the EB1C multinational manager category. If the companies change, but it's still a successor in interest. They don't understand that. There is a great breakdown by USCIS, a memo that came out, breaks this down and says it's okay. And the AEO frequently pushes back and says, you USCIS, stop bothering people about this. But be prepared for if you have a situation where you're doing an I-140 foreign company that they worked out, gets merged in with some sister company, but it's still the same company essentially. Be prepared to have the memo and explain it, and have this tool right here, AEO decisions, where I say when they are, and say, listen, the AEO already said multiple times, this memo says it, just get it together, because it does pop up when you have these global corporations where they just like, oh, I have three companies as redundancies, let's just merge them in one. And so be prepared for stuff like that. Okay. Now, a great colleague of ours, Brian Manning, he used to be a consular officer, a listener to the show. He's probably listening to this one right now. Brian, I hope you're doing good. Then became an asylum officer over in Texas, and now he's a private practitioner, really focusing on asylum. On his LinkedIn page, his quick bio says political asylum lawyer. He's great at it. We did a CLE for affirmative asylum filings. If you're trying to get into asylum, we did a beginner breakdown of everything you need to do to file an affirmative case, what to be mindful of, what situations pop up with the client, how to deal with them. And this guy has been on the other side of the table, and he's told me privately, he's like, I can't believe some of the stuff these lawyers are submitting, not doing this, not doing that. It looks terrible. So that's that's a guy you want to know. So definitely, if you're part of the Toolbox, go to the asylum section. That video will be there. If you just want to purchase that one CLE, email me. I'll send you the link to purchase that. All these a la carte versions are $25 if you want them. The current Toolbox price is just $50 a month. So if you're going to buy one a la carte, you might as well just get a whole month and access all this stuff and see what's going on. But it's there if you just want to buy a la carte. And so he had a post where he said over 23% of all affirmative asylum approvals went to Venezuelans in the most recent year for which data is available. China received the next largest share of affirmative grants at 15%. So yeah, the Venezuelan situation, huge diaspora happening, massive hyperinflation, and the Venezuelan asylum is a big one. So if you get a case like that, you know, have a good shot. they're going pretty good. Now, one thing is I did an interview a couple weeks back with Kara Woolman, a great O&P visa attorney. And check out on YouTube, we did a clip really breaking down a history of O&P visas. One thing I realized for the podcast, I started doing episodes and when I had more time, going through the history of immigration laws. And I did too. You should go back and check those out. They're really interesting. From when the initial immigration laws started coming, and this is in like the 1800s, and you know, Chinese Exclusion Act. And then I took it all the way to like 1915. I haven't had time to pick it up and go it there. But from analyzing those rules, it really upped my understanding of immigration law and how I could argue a case. Just a public charge rule, for example, seeing how that analysis first started, how admissibility for public health started at that time. It's really interesting to see the transition historically. And she talks in our interview, and I have you go to the YouTube page for Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. She talks about the history of O&P visas because she learned how to do O&Ps from the person who essentially wrote the bill. And so it's really good if you're going to practice in that kind of area for non-immigrant visas, for entertainers, athletes, extraordinary ability, O1s, and Ps, to have an understanding of the case history, because that helps you in your arguments to show the original intent of how things were going. Now, I did another one. Part of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox Premium Program, I have a monthly call, which I call a Mastermind marketing call. It's just me recording what I've been doing for marketing in the last 30 days. And if you're hearing this and you put my name in, you all know how active I am on social media, constantly posting stuff, and it helps and it learns a lot. And so definitely, if you want to get the subscription, that one I don't sell a la carte. It's just there for the month. And once I put a new one out, it deletes the old one. There's no history for that. But I put a clip on the Facebook page where I talk about the future of immigration law, because Arizona just opened up the bar for lawyers to team up with non-lawyers for a law firm. And when you have an immigration practice, which is federal, we can have an Arizona attorney have a federal practice essentially with a non-lawyer group. What does that mean? How to prepare for that? All that kind of stuff. That's on the Facebook page. That clip I have of it. I'm not sure how many minutes it is. How many minutes it is? But it's a chunk where I describe what my plans are, how I think you should deal with it. And at the same time gives you an idea of how the whole thing is. Just a clip, but it's only on the Facebook page. So tune in there to see it. If you like, definitely email me and get a subscription to the regular page to hear the whole thing. So that's something to be on top of. So going back into history, we're on, what is it? Today is September 19th. I'm going to September 2nd post right now. A lot of stuff are going on. Most of it is depressing. So, you know, we can't go anywhere abroad when it's this bad. So, you know, be prepared. Eventually things are going to get a lot better. You know, one thing that's happening is just the difficulty of getting info passes. And then when you get the info pass, getting some sort of things like emergency advance parole or getting a green card stamp when something's expiring or your I-5 and I-90 is pending. It's just ridiculous how they've made it so difficult. Every time I call USCIS, it takes an hour to get a hold of someone, even if I call at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then once I get a hold of them, I say, I want a tier 2 officer. They immediately say, we ran out of tier 2 officers, call back again tomorrow. I'm like, are there even any tier 2 officers? And you know, what's kind of annoying is that I get a lot of people who call me who do pro se cases. And they're talking with me. And they're like, yeah, I've been trying to do the case. I've been calling USCIS every day for the last couple of weeks. I'm talking with them, trying to figure it out. And I'm like, well, this is why we don't have time, because people are calling USCIS to get legal guidance. And the US is almost always wrong every time they give them guidance, because the officers there don't know what's going on. They just say random things. And then they call me. I'm like, well, yeah, of course you got bad advice. You called the wrong person and you're tying up the phone line. And so it's just so bad that this is happening. But, and they're not putting funding in there, and there's lack of funding. So you know they're going to cut down the phone service. So they're just kind of destroying the system. It's it's just so bad how this is going. But let's see what else to talk about. So I wish I kept track of the time of when I started. Let's see if my assistant knows how long I've been doing this. Is there a time I've been doing this, my lovely assistant? 40 minutes. We'll try to get it to an hour. So let's see. Oh, it's some tech news. What 2 pieces of tech news? Boundless immigration is this immigration online processing kind of stuff. I don't think they're lawyers. I'm not really sure, but they just purchased Rapid Visa, which does, more of this online non-lawyer kind of stuff that helps fill out forms and stuff. I had a call from somebody 2 weeks ago called, and they said, we were planning on doing rapid visa at first because we want to do it faster, but we decided to do it with a lawyer. And then I was like, damn, it's so misleading for clients who aren't aware that a name like Rapid Visa makes them think that they're going to somehow do it faster or not. It's so misleading. There was another thing I just skipped over. I'll talk about a pro law group, one of the big immigration firms that was mainstay, just sold off their, I think it was a tracker program, what it was called, and they changed their name from Pro Law Group to. I skipped the thing, but it's a massive change in the immigration space. One is all the mergers and acquisitions going on in immigration tech, and things are changing. And I did an interview with one of the co-founders of DocketWise, which does immigration form services, and they're growing very, very massively. And so it's very interesting to see what's going on behind the scenes, this kind of stuff, even in firm structures that are changing. Not just Pearl, but I talked about what happened in Arizona, where a lot of these, in that clip I talk about how a lot of these big accounting firms are trying to get into this space because they already have corporations. Like, we'll all do their H-1B and EB-1C, EB-2, EB-3 as well, perm, and we'll do it all in-house. What effect is that going to have on the market? There's going to be disruption. So be prepared for all that happening. And the key answer to all this is, you got to have a top personal brand. That's why going online and doing videos is so important. So people can relate to you and trust you, and so they come to you. That's why it's really important to talk about. Now, real quick about Julie Pearl. She was CEO and co-founder of Pro Law Group, one of the nation's largest immigration firms. She announced she's retiring and practice passing on the reins. New company is going to be called Corporate Immigration Partners, CIP. I mean, they're a big dog in this, and so I think do a lot of corporate-based stuff, but that's very interesting. I've contacted her to come on the show, so we'll see. I would love to see what she's up to. She's done so much. It'd be a great educational experience for all of us to hear from someone like that. Ooh, let's see. USCIS imposes new obstacles to family reunification for survivors of persecution. Documents related FOIA litigation shows. Oh yeah, USCIS is making, if you have I-730 spouses and children of asylum holders and things are not happening, apparently they're really analyzing those and making a lot of problems. Elham Sadri from up in Northern California posted this. There was a FOIA lawsuit, and long story short, documents revealed increased scrutiny of petitions to permit spouses and minor children of refugees or asylees to immigrate to the U.S. or if already present to legalize their immigrant status. The document reflects an unannounced March 2019 change in agency policy regarding adjudication of these petitions, commonly known as I-730 petitions, because they are filed on I-Form 730. Among other procedural changes, it reveals that USCIS adjudicators must refer certain I-730 petitions to ICE to decide whether to pursue enforcement action against the beneficiary before USCIS will adjudicate the family reunification petition. You would never expect that, As a result, some I-730 petitions have been lingering for years. The document further indicates that USCIS adjudicators will ask beneficiaries to release confidential information from their asylum application, which adjudicators will then use to deny the I-730, because asylum applications are, they're supposed to be private. During a USCIS interview for adjustment of status, for example, you're not supposed to ask and talk about that. So that's really nasty kind of stuff. And so you probably have I-730 cases that are going nowhere. That's the situation with that. Definitely get on top of that, see what's going on. Let's see. Nightmare continues. Biometrics. ICE's 2,000 immigrants arrested in a sweep 2 weeks ago on September 2nd. I have a lot of job postings I post on the Facebook link to a page. I'm probably going to announce those when I'm going through this like this, but next time I'll do it. Oh, this one was just unbelievable. So there was a postal employee allegedly in the Salt Lake City post office that when USCIS mail would come, they would just shred them and destroy them. So you can imagine how many EADs and RFEs and and I-551s and all that kind of stuff, green cards were lost and stolen. People have to pay money, lose their jobs, get removed for not getting the the RFE or the appointment notice for adjustment of status. That's such a nasty move to do if it's true. Allegedly, I say allegedly, but that's what we're dealing with. So it's just so bad. Okay, so I did an interview with Claribel Madueña. She's in Northern California, great colleague. We have to school together, and she's been so great, an expert, and she's in California certified immigration lawyer. Really one of the top was a removal defense attorneys. And so we did it. Not only did we do a 10 questions interview that you all saw, but there's a lot of clips from a CLE for the basics of removal defense. So how to do removal defense, what to expect, what's going on. So if you're interested in getting into that, because there's a lot of business from removal defense, especially, and it can help a lot of people, Toolbox has a premium breakdown for beginners with Clarabelle. She's a great resource, about an hour going through the basics of removal defense. So definitely check that out. That's a la carte as well, but you can get that in membership. So they're just packed. This Toolbox membership is packed a lot of stuff. Hours and hours of just material that can help you with your practice. But I just saw that was posted. I was like in probably September 2nd, around late to last month that it was posted. Another thing I've been doing is I've been going through, different social media to find who are the biggest immigration attorneys that are on this social media app or who using most successfully. And so I just posted on part of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox on September 1st, the top 10 Twitter immigration lawyers large accounts. So I said, okay, who has more than 4,000 followers? That's an immigration attorney. We had a top 10 list we posted. Definitely check it out. Definitely add these people. You got Nicola Glazier, Matthew Culkin, Matt Cameron, Greg Siskin, David Leopold, Charles Cook, Francisco Leon. I'm not too familiar with them, but he's part of the controversy about the, opening up national origin situations with EB cases. And then so on. So definitely find that out there. Angelo Paparelli is number 10. I'd interviewed him. Was coming up. What's his name? I should know their names. Number 8 is sorry, I'm drawing a blank. He posts great stuff. He does the Benders thing with Lexus. So I'll find the name later. And another one, number 9, the reason I can't say her name is US Visa Lawyer is her handle. And I'm actually interviewing her in a few weeks. A nice Irish person. Let's put US Visa Lawyer. I hope she doesn't hear this and see I'm blanking on her name. It's 9:00 at night. Fiona McEntee. So these are top people that are English language Twitter accounts with large accounts. So definitely follow. We're gonna do a lot more stuff about this. Have top medium-sized accounts. Have top YouTube people. Top people on LinkedIn. The goal is to really promote practitioners. We have a lot of people who are doing great work here. We got to get the names out. We're all superstars that are really pushing this. So we should be known as celebrity attorneys, superstars, and it should be known because we're doing a lot of great work and it's tough work. So one of the things about the Immigration Toolbox, and if you participate, is promoting you as immigration lawyers. So it helps your business and helps you become a better lawyer, both getting the education and getting the notoriety that can help your firm and your practice. And the focus is just building everyone up, the community having open arms. Now, what's interesting is between Charles Cook and Leon Fresco, they're on the kind of the opposite sides of this situation of saying, taking away country of origin limitations on preference categories, E2, E3. And as soon as I posted this, I started getting people hating on Leon and started people hating on Chuck and saying, would you post this? How would you do this? And I was like, dude, I'm neutral here. I put both of them there. But because they have large accounts and they have opinions too. There's some other people who have large accounts where they post stuff about pizza or something like that. I'm not going to post them. These are lawyers who talk about immigration law. It's always a focus on what is continuing knowledge and education that's happening. Now, one really annoying thing is, USCIS timelines they post on USCIS.gov, not really reliable. They started posting things like an EAD was taking 2 years to do, and they fixed that up when Ayla contacted them and pushed it back to 6 months again. But it's so nuts that they do this kind of stuff. Unbelievable. Let's see. Oh, another thing, USCIS adopted an AO decision on TPS and authorized travel. Essentially, if you travel on TPS, like advanced parole, and come back in, you revert back to the status that you had before. If you're out of status, you're out of status. So it won't help you for adjusting status. Be prepared for that nonsense. Maybe if you're in the Ninth Circuit, it's all good because we have that exception. But Ninth Circuit is going to be changing with all new judges. So we'll see what happens with that. But that was an issue there. There's another BIA case. Should I read this? It's too complicated. Sorry. so we'll leave that out. Let's see what else we talked about. We're on August 28th, going back almost 30 days at this point. So I think this might be, still 3 weeks. What I'm going to do is just go back, a month every time. I have all this stuff out written because I was doing this every month, like recap what's going on. And then I didn't get there 2 months. I'm like, okay, I'll do it quarterly. And I have all these notes. I didn't get into it for like March, April, May. And then I kind of lost track of it. But I think I'm just going to jump in it either every week or every month. We'll see how it is. Because it was really popular when I was doing that, give my analysis of the law and the news and stuff back when I was doing that a lot. It was a lot of pressure the way I used to do because I was overly planning. but now I'm just going to read through the news. That's going to make it much easier. So I think we're getting close to the 1 hour thing. As a reminder, the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox has the LinkedIn page. We just hit 1,000 followers last month, probably like 1,200, where I post the most recent updates, clips of information. If you're on LinkedIn, definitely follow the page. You get cutting edge information. And plus, whenever something's posted on a listserv, on a Facebook page, anywhere a colleague tells me they need some lawyer or need a job, I post it there. So if you're looking for a job too, that's a best place to look at, is to be part of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox LinkedIn page. And I'm just gonna end it right there. A lot of news popping up, but I think I went back to the end of August, so it covers that. But thank you everyone for listening so much. As a reminder, just email me if you're interested about these different programs from the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, the Champions for Freedom program, talking about and just educating and breaking down the process for marriage, fiance cases, adjustment of status and admissibility, I-90 renewals, I-751 removal of conditions, the basics of NATs, all this kind of stuff. Of course, really breaking down for you once a week, a 4-week course, and there'll probably be bonus and stuff too that come with it, access to the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. I also have a new directory site for immigration lawyers who I'll get into that more in the future, and you'll get access to that as well, especially if you're a Toolbox member with years of experience, because it is a limitation on that. But all that stuff's popping up. So learn about membership, contact me. We'll have a call and talk. I like to get to know all the immigration lawyers. Every week I talk to 2 or 3 new immigration lawyers just for the sake of talking, because I love the community, and it's a pleasure. So I guess that's about it. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Really look forward to putting out the interview with Angelo Paparelli next week, and much, much more. Definitely check it out. And with that, God bless everyone. Be safe, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.